What's going on, y'all? What's up, Good News Network? What's up, YouTube? We are getting ready to kick off this week's episode of Overtime. We are talking nothing but NBA playoffs in this episode, so buckle up and get ready for it.
It is not your boy, TIMKINZ, number 3. I'm the Eric J.
Only known as
the Eric J.
And I'm Camille, point guard of the crew, the real life Tifa Lockhart, the girl next door. Holding it down for all the women who love sports. And also not here, your boy K Harris, the gentleman. Not here. It's me and Eric running with a duo. He has a 2-man game tonight. So we gonna dive into the NBA playoffs. There's no need to lollygag and whatnot. We're going to start in the Eastern Conference. Surprise to y'all, we ain't going to start with the Bucks. We're going to start with the 1 seed and work our way down. But Miami and Atlanta, as of this recording, I should also mention, we're recording this on 420. To some, it's a holiday. To those who indulge, hope you had a great 420 because you'll be hearing this afterwards. But also saying that, so we're recording this at a particular time before this evening's slate of games begins. So this is before before Boston, Brooklyn, before Milwaukee, Chicago, and before Toronto, Philly. So keep that in mind. Miami, Atlanta. Currently, Miami leads that series 2-0. I mean, we all thought that Miami was going to win this series as a whole, but you got any thoughts on that series as it currently stands?
What do I want to say? I think that Atlanta can still make this a series. I don't think that just because Miami's up 2-0, it's not over by any stretch of the imagination. They needed a crazy Jimmy Butler game last night to even beat them. I think it's still going about as I expected. Atlanta laid an egg in the first game. But they can definitely compete with this team. Hopefully, at some point, they get Clint Capella back. But they have more than enough pieces to compete. They need Trey to kind of be Trey, which I think Miami has done a good job of taking him out of the series to this point. But yeah, I think it's going about as I expected.
Yeah. So when I saw that this was going to be the matchup after the playing games, I was actually hoping that it was going to be Cleveland that made it here. I feel like Cleveland actually is a little bit of I don't want to say a tougher matchup, because I would still pick Miami regardless of who they were going up against. But I feel like Cleveland had some ways to kind of gum it up a little bit more than Atlanta does. And with all the injuries to Atlanta's front court, I wanted to see, I was like, if they were healthy, I think this could have been really, really interesting. But those are the breaks that we have at the moment. And they have been locking Trey up. Trey has, he's been ice cold for show, and not in the way that he likes to be. It's been kind of interesting watching that. And then, like you mentioned, game 2 was a lot closer. And Jimmy Butler had to go bubble Jimmy for them to pull this one out. But one thing that's been interesting to me with this series, and the Heat in particular, is Jimmy Butler's 3-point percentage. Because throughout the regular season, garbage, trash, boo-boo, however you want to say it, it has been bad. But in this series so far, of course, small sample size, has only been 2 games as of this recording, but if he's shooting at a 35-36% clip from 3, that changes things for this team considerably in a way that I don't want to see as a Bucks fan. But as a Marquette fan, as a Jimmy Butler fan, it's kind of cool to see him cook. And then Kyle Lowry out here flopping. I saw the clip where he just running through crowds, waving his arms and all that type of stuff.
It's pulled somebody down the other day too. It's just like, what? That's not necessary. Like him and Chris Paul, like it takes the enjoyment out of watching it. Like it, not completely. You know what I mean? Like they're still great point guards, and I respect what they do. But like I don't respect like all the theatrics and all that extra shit that they do. Like it's unnecessary and it's unbecoming of players of their stature to be out there like, you know, like grabbing guys when they're going up for a rebound to kind of bait them into a fifth foul, or just like running in guys on the fast break. It's like, you know, respect the game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that for sure. And like I said, we both had Miami, and I'm gonna also bring in what Tim and Ken had as their predictions as we go through, because although they might not be here physically, you know, given a voice, they are still here for sure. And we all had right, we all had Miami. I had Miami in 6. I think Atlanta can take 2 games for sure. You had them in 7, so it goes to your point about Atlanta having an ability to make this into a series. And everybody, Ken was the only one who thought it was going to be a gentleman's sweep. So we all, and Tim had it in 6 as well. So we thought it would be a series. I need I need Atlanta to win this next one, because if they're staring at a 3-0 hole, I'm not feeling as confident about this going 6 games. Anything can happen, of course, but I won't feel as confident about it.
Yeah, this definitely feels like a 1-2-3 Cancun team if they get down 3-0. So, yeah, game 3 is a must-win for them. Going back to your earlier point about Jimmy's 3-point shooting, like I think the game got down to like, it was a 3-point game, I believe, within like 2 minutes. And I'm like, oh my, you know, Atlanta has a chance; they can steal one. And then Jimmy comes out and hits like a crazy like fadeaway 3, and I'm just like, okay, they not win. Like, it's not their night. Like if Jimmy's doing that, it's not their night. Like it's just like, it was like when Draymond hit a 3, I think in game 1 against Denver. It's like, y'all not winning. Like it's just like when that happens, like just chalk it up as an L, move on to the next one.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was like he went on a personal, I think it was like a 7-0 run by himself in game 2, and I was like, if Jimmy cooking like this right now, I don't really know what y'all gonna be able to do. Atlanta, like, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're gonna be able to do here. So need to see what Atlanta does in game 3. So good luck to them going forward. But I'm guessing that you still feel like Miami is going to win this series.
Yes. You know, if Capella can come back, like I haven't actually seen like the injury report on him, but if he can come back and they can keep stretching this out until they get him back, like I think that helps, because, you know, Miami is physical, but they aren't overly big. So like having more size might loosen things up for them. But again,
that's part of why. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's part of why that Cleveland matchup I thought was so interesting, because they are just jumbo sized across the board.
Yeah, but I also feel like they don't have enough offense to really, like, even with the size,
Yeah, the play-ins revealed to me that they were not exactly who I thought they were in these high pressure moments.
Yeah, but like again, like it's injuries really. Like, you know, if Cleveland had their full complement of players, like that would have been a complete. Well, they wouldn't have fallen to the play-in probably. But and same thing with Atlanta now. It's like if they were healthy, like this would be a much different series, but they're not. So you kind of got to go with what you got.
Yeah, that's a fact. Other series, 2 seed, the Boston Celtics up against the 7 seed Brooklyn Nets. Game 2 of that is tonight. As I mentioned, I cannot wait to watch that when we finish recording. And currently, Boston is leading that series 1-0. And that first game was memorable. It was one of those games where you're amped up watching it the whole way, and you're like, this is what playoff basketball should be. Thank God they had that game on ABC, because that was a great game to showcase the league to casual fans. And I saw somebody tweet like, them taking away NBA from like broadcast TV has been a detriment to the league in itself. And I was like, I really can't argue that, because you need eyes on the product. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Getting started on NBA TV playoff games, like I can't even get it on League. Well, I mean, I can. I gotta pay extra to get it on League Pass. It's like you are definitely like, you know, hustling backwards. Like I get it. You want to incentivize people to get NBA TV, but at the same time, these are your best games of the season, and you have it behind a paywall. Like the NFL would never. Let's put it down.
Ever. Even the games they put on Amazon Prime, like you can still watch them on broadcast TV. So yeah, I agree. The only games they do that with is the Thursday night games they had on NFL Network.
Yeah.
But a lot of them games you didn't want to see anyways. But regardless.
One playoff games.
Right. Boston, Brooklyn. First game was crazy good. Kyrie stole the show, of course, because all the discourse that's around him. And flipping off fans and mocking them and all that just to catch an L. Although, I mean, it was a buzzer beating shot. Like, it was a good game. I had Boston in this series, thought it would go 7. We actually all had Boston in this series. We all had it going 7, except for Ken, who sees Boston doing it in 6. So, one game in the books. Game 2 is tonight. We got news that Ben Simmons is targeting his return, looking like game 4, although they're saying game 3 is not out of the question. So, all that being said, how are you feeling about your initial prediction, and how do you think things are going to unfold?
It was a coin flip when I picked it. It's still there. Like, game 1 did nothing to dissuade me from that. I mean, it came down to literally the last shot of the game. So, I don't feel any more or less confident about Boston. Like, I didn't feel confident making it in the first place. Like, I think, again, it's just like, who knows? Like, it's going to come down to game 7. I wouldn't be surprised if it come down to another buzzer beater. Like, these are they're not evenly matched, just because, like, Boston is such like a team-oriented game, and so much of Brooklyn is
ISO.
Brilliance of KD and Kyrie. But, like, the scales are even, like, if that makes any sense. Like, watching that game down the stretch, I was just like, I just tweeted, like, I love basketball. Like, this, that was just like, I love the game of basketball. Like, that, when I say that, that's what I mean. Like, watching these players do that, like, was just amazing. What was I gonna say? Oh, somebody played back, like, somebody had like a floor level.
The last play
of the last play. I'm just like, this is moving so fast. Like, the TV doesn't do it justice. It's like you're watching it, like, the decision making, just like instincts. Like, Jason Tatum caught the ball, spun all in one motion, and laid it up. Like, it was just like all like within a fraction of a second, and he got it off. I'm like, how? Like, how? Like, these players are amazing. So shout out to just NBA excellent. But yeah, I don't know really what to take away from it. Other than just enjoy it. Like, honestly, just enjoy it.
Yeah, that's very similar to how I feel. Like, you tweeted out, I love basketball, and to me it felt like a heavyweight fight, where it was kind of like these, like, two different styles. And a lot of times when you have two different styles, how you approach a game, it makes the matchup even more interesting, because it's such a contrast, and you're seeing how they play and how both teams are having success with their their different styles of play. I love seeing that. And there's something like a heavyweight fight. Like, of course, lightweights is cool, middleweights is cool, but a heavyweight fight is always just different. And that's how I feel about watching Boston and Brooklyn. And this being a first round matchup is crazy. Again, shout out to the playing games, but also shout out to the fact that, like, the league is just deep right now. I mean, the only reason Brooklyn's here, we all know, is injury luck to KD, Kyrie not getting the vaccine, only playing half the year. And then, I mean, James Harden was there for some parts of it, but I don't even count him no more, because I feel like even if they just had a healthy KD and a Kyrie that could play full time, they probably would have been a higher seed. But neither here nor there. If ifs were if we would all be drunk. Ain't no time for the if game right now. I think that Ben Simmons coming back is going to be fascinating to watch. I'm assuming they won't start him. I'm assuming he'll come off the bench and be on some type of minute count, maybe 10, 15 minutes a game. But him being a rangy wing defender, and you have another body to throw at Tatum, to throw at Brown, like, that's going to be extremely helpful for Brooklyn, because Brooklyn doesn't necessarily need the help scoring buckets at this point, especially if Bruce Brown is going to be this super role player that he's morphed into over the last couple of weeks. But I'm looking forward to his return. Like, depending on how Ben Simmons looks, he could be a swing piece, in my opinion, that might actually make me be like, ooh, I can see Brooklyn actually taking this one.
The thing with Simmons is that they don't even need him to be last year's Ben Simmons. I say that as a compliment. You know what I mean? Like, last year's Ben Simmons was good, save for the Atlanta series. So, like, if they just get, like, taller Bruce Brown, like, that changes the dynamic in and of itself. So, yeah, like, he can be a piece. The only reservation I guess I have in that regard is that he hasn't played basketball in essentially a year.
Yeah,
And
last May.
dropping him into a hype like this playoff series specifically, like if it's Nets and Bulls, like this, like okay, yeah, you can get your sea legs a little bit, but dropping him right into Game 3, Game 4 of Boston, Brooklyn after the first game that we got in that series, like good luck.
Yeah, the best case scenario for them, I would think, is for them to win Game 2. So at least going into it, it's like a 0. Like, well, if he returns Game 3, it's like a 0-0 slate at that point. Because if you're coming back and you're looking down at a 2-0 hole, possibly even a 3-0 hole by the time you get to Game 4, feels a little bit different. Although you might feel if you're down, 0-3, like, hey, nothing to lose here. All I can do is go and hoop. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what that looks like for them. But we won't spend too much more time on that series because I still think it's like a coin flip. I think we probably would agree on that. Milwaukee. Go ahead.
Before we go, because we'll be there for a while. But the Kyrie thing, like, yes, it's wrong for him to have flipped off the crowd and told somebody to, perform a service on them and do all these, all the extra stuff. But like, this gets back to my point always, which is like, this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's not like he's doing it unprompted. Like, it's a reaction to what he's receiving. He even said that himself. He's like, I'm just giving what I'm giving what I'm getting. Mm-hmm. And so like, he got fined $50,000. I'm sure he feels like it was worth it. Like, like
money well spent.
Exactly. Like, I don't think that, it needs to be any deeper than that, because like somebody pointed out, Eli Manning flipped off the crowd in the NFL. It became a meme. Like, like, it's not the end of the world. Like, sure, there are kids there, whatever. Like, I'm sure kids are learning from what's being shouted in the crowd too. So,
right.
Whatever. High horse, like, shouldn't be. Nobody's on the high horse in this situation.
So many people trying to paint Kyrie as the ultimate villain and how he needs to just focus on hooping. And I'm like, as a fan who doesn't have any like rooting interest in this, it makes it even more interesting to me just to see how he responds to the crowd. Some players shrink under that type of pressure. Other players rise up to it. To see him like taking it in, not necessarily, it's not the same as Trae Young in New York last year, but like, I enjoy seeing players just embrace whatever is being thrown at them and being like, okay, I'll deal with that and roll with it. Now, if Trae would have been flipping off people in Madison Square Garden, he might not have made it out of that mud. I'm going to say that, though. But Milwaukee, Chicago. Bucks currently up 1-0. As mentioned, Game 2 is tonight. It's about 2.5 hours away as we record this. I'm going to just let you roll you the ball and just say, ISO, how you feeling about that series in Game 1?
Sadly, I wasn't surprised by what happened in Game 1. Like, going back to last year, all their Game 1s were rough. Game 2 in Brooklyn was very bad. So, like, that's the only time where Game 1 wasn't their worst game of the series. So it's kind of par for the course. I think that they'll be better. Like, Chris Middleton never does well off of extended rest, so that's not surprising. Like, again, like, it's the Bucks being the Bucks. Like, if there was one game that I expected the Bulls to steal, it would have been Game 1. From here out, I think, hopefully these aren't my famous last words, but from here out, like, I think they should be fine. Like, they clearly have the talent advantage. They clearly have the size advantage. If they just don't play dumb basketball, like, I think that they'll be fine in this series. It was an interesting contrast going from Brooklyn Boston Game 1 to Chicago Milwaukee Game 1, because it's like, yeah, I see why the Bucks tanked it, because like, if you had me up right into that environment, like, they would have got blown out. Like, because I don't think it was anything that Chicago did that was like, oh, we figure out the Bucks. It was just the Bucks beating themselves.
I agree with that. And one thing that you brought up, how you said you get how the Bucks tank that. One thing that I think that people don't give enough thought to, or bring up the fact is, like, when the season was ending and Milwaukee was sitting in the 2 seed and they rested everybody the last game, like, hey, Boston is up to you. 2, 3, 4, whatever you want to do, go for it. But Boston had incentive to actually get that 2 seed, which I didn't realize because I believe Al Horford and I can't remember who else. It might be Brown, but there's someone else on their team who's not vaccinated.
They don't know. Well, obviously Boston knows, but reporters don't know. There are players that didn't play in either of the games that Boston had in Toronto this year, and the thought was, okay, somebody's unvaccinated. And they didn't confirm that their whole team was vaccinated. So given the way they denied it, they just assumed that Horford at least and possibly Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, so knowing that, and they know their interim situation, I understand why you would take a 2 seed over the possibility of dropping to 4 if you had to play Toronto and then be without 2 of your key guys crossing into Canada. But that's just something I want to make sure I said on mic, because some people don't know that part.
And to be clear, their only options were 2 or 4, like because of like what Philly did. Like they couldn't have had 3 essentially.
Okay, yeah, because that makes sense.
Damn, but imagine if that is your decision. It's like, we can be down 2 men against Toronto, or we can play Brooklyn with our full complement.
Which one y'all want to do? I like his full strength. I do too. I get it.
Yeah, and you get home court second round too. So
exactly. So I get why Boston did that, but Milwaukee, Chicago, I don't really have too much to echo off of what you said. Like, I agree with everything you laid out. The turnovers, easily correctable. Chris Middleton had like 7 by himself. They had 21 as a team. Chris had a terrible game in game 1. And afterwards, he even acknowledged it. Like, he was like, I know, like, I didn't play well. I made some crucial errors at times in the game where I shouldn't have been gambling, and I was making gambles. It did not pay off. I understand that. Drew Holiday talking about, hey, why'd y'all play bad? Rust. We ain't played in a week. But thank God, as I've always said, for Giannis, even though he was in the foul trouble, he has to be better as well. And Brook Lopez, because you alluded to the fact, like, there's a size mismatch. Chicago can't do anything with Brook, with Giannis in the paint. Vooch can try all he wants to. Y'all can throw out Tristan Thompson if you want to get fancy, but like, there's not much y'all can really do. Yeah, please give us more Tristan Thompson minutes. But I do want to shout out Chicago's defense, because they did play better defense than what I thought they would. And a lot of that was active hands. Like, they just played passing lanes really well. They kept their hands up. Caruso was out there being a dog on defense, like he's known to do. Marcus Smart in that game. And like, it was cool. I was curious to hear how many Bulls fans were going to be in the arena. There are some people who might not be, from Milwaukee or this area, who don't understand the Bucks-Bulls rivalry, because they don't think of those two teams like, y'all ain't doing nothing against each other. But it's a geographic rivalry. It's Milwaukee versus Chicago, and that's how it is in everything. We want to be Chicago in baseball. We want to be Chicago in basketball. We want to be Chicago in football. It is always going to be that way, and they feel the same way about us. That is the rivalry that is here. And Bulls fans always make their way up to Milwaukee for games when their team is playing, because it's cheaper to come to Milwaukee to watch a game, a little vacation, this and that. I just hope we send them back home again tonight in game 2. Disappointed that they wasted their money. Quote unquote wasted their money. It's a boon to the economy here. Yeah. Go ahead, spend your money here all you want to, but I hope we send them home. Very, very sad.
I just have to get to work tomorrow after that game.
Right. I wouldn't be shocked to see more close games in this series, but I also feel like there is going to be a blowout. Like, Milwaukee is going to blow out Chicago in at least one of these games in this series. And I am very much looking forward to that, because as I've said before, I still have some 2015 flashbacks to that series against the Bulls. Giannis's, I think, first playoff series, when he had to, check Mike Dunleavy and, become the Milwaukee's new favorite son over Mike. Because apparently Mike Dunleavy used to always be like, Milwaukee love me. Like, I'm of Milwaukee and they love me. My dad was there and this and then. Nah, after that Giannis push, no longer, sir. No longer.
No, literally, Bucks Reddit motto is "fuck Mike Dunleavy." So,
is it really?
I mean, unofficially, but yeah. Like, if you ever see FMD, that's what that means.
I've seen it, but I never knew what it meant.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense. So, I have Milwaukee in 5. I do think Chicago is going to get a game. I don't think DeRozan. Well, let me say this about DeRozan. He had a great regular season. It's uncommon for guys that late in their career to have a year like he had, where it's like the first time you've seen them do something like this. There have been concerns about DeRozan's playoff performances. the basketball fan in me is saying I hope he has at least a game. So that's part of why I picked Chicago to, get a game. I said Bucks in 5 because I felt there was going to be a night where DeRozan is able to, go crazy enough, and there's going to be enough contributions from role guys to get them over that hump and move forward. But if he is going to have the shot selection that he had throughout game 1, where he is, well, we know he can make difficult shots. We know he can. But all difficult shots are not created equal. Trying to shoot over Giannis when he is actually not giving you any space, he is just all up in your airspace, is not a good decision. And he froze out his teammates that time, I felt like, too, where it's like you didn't have a good look. You could have passed the ball and gotten a better one. And you got a Vooch out there. We've seen Vooch cook the Bucks when he was with the Magic before because, he'll take the open shot. He'll take what's given to him. I think he took like 10 threes in game 1 or something like that. Only made 2.
They want him to take that shot, though. Like, they're carrying him. Like, it's like, we're leaving you open on purpose. Take it. So
go ahead. And I'm not too mad at that. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a fun series. Again, the Milwaukee-Chicago aspect of it as a Milwaukeean is always going to be entertaining to me. It's been fun seeing some Bulls fans and their reaction to it. I tried to get some Bulls fans to bet on the series with me, but they weren't going. So, we got that. Although one did bet me. They said that we could bet a 20-piece wing on the outcome of the series. So I need to figure out where I want my wings from. Don't want to
pointsies. What you thinking?
Now, I have heard mangoes be slapping, but I've never had mangoes wings.
First time for everything.
Okay, yeah. All right, now we do still have one more series in the East to talk about before we get to the West, but we also have a commercial break coming up on the Good News Radio app. If you're listening on the Good News app, enjoy a couple minutes of some advertisements from other shows on our network, as well as sponsors. If you are watching on our YouTube, it's just going to be a quick moment before we right back up in here. So stay tuned, grab a snack or anything like that if you need it for the next half of the show. We'll be right on back. All right. Welcome back, y'all. If you're listening on the Good News Radio app, hope you enjoyed those ads. Hope you check out some of those other shows on the network. If you're on YouTube, like I said, we was going to be gone just for a second. Just a little quick blip on the screen. And, we back up in here. So to finish out the East, Philly and Toronto. Currently, Philly leads that series 2-0. Philly has just come out and really exerted their will over Toronto at this point in the series. Doc Rivers became the 5th NBA coach to earn 100 postseason wins after they won game 2. The Raptors saw some injury misfortune with Scotty Barnes going down. Thad Young went down. Gary Trent Jr. has been trying to play through an illness. It's not COVID. But you can see it in game 2. It was like, you shouldn't be out here right now. You look terrible. Not like how you playing, but like you as an individual. Like, you don't look good. We all thought Toronto was going to pull this upset. But at this point, might not go that way. How are you feeling about this series?
Yeah. I mean, part of it is the injuries, but also I was wrong. Like, I'm man enough to admit that I was wrong. Like, Joel Embiid is on. So a couple months ago, I don't know if I said it on the show or if I just said it in, civilian life, but I said it facetiously, but like I actually mean it. Like, between having Doc Rivers and his playoff history and James Harden and his playoff history, if Joel Embiid pull this off, like, he'd go. And like, he seems to be taking that as a personal mission at this point because he is unstoppable. Which, I mean, again, it makes sense. It's just like, Toronto can swarm him, but they actually don't have anybody that can really guard him. You know what I mean? Like, so if, Maxey and Tobias Harris are going to do what they've been doing,
especially Maxey,
I'm assuming that they'll get at least a game or 2 from James Harden looking like James Harden. Like, that could be enough. Because then you can't just play 5-on-1 essentially with Embiid. Like, you have to respect the other guys on the court. Like, it's a high wire act, and I thought that Toronto had the bodies and the mindset and the coaching and all that stuff to do it, but so far that has Philly got them figured out. Yeah,
and even the aspects of the game where I thought that Philly would thrive and just completely destroy Philly, it has not happened. Like, Toronto has been losing in the areas that I thought they would be winning. Fast breaks, rebounding. Like, I'm like, okay, I did not see it going this way exactly. And like you said, the injuries don't make it better, but depending on what happens in game 3 here, they're finally back in Toronto. Curious to see how Philly plays without Thibault, but the way that Embiid's playing, I don't know if it makes a difference, to be honest. I don't know if it makes much of a difference. So this is probably a prediction we're going to be wrong on, because I don't have the same confidence I had before the series started in Toronto to get the job done.
Yeah, like I think a must for Toronto is that they have to win. They have to dominate the minutes that Embiid isn't on the court, and right now they're losing those minutes. You know what I mean? Like, it's not
right.
Even, so like. If they can't do that, then they have no shot here. Like, I hate that my boy Scotty Barnes got hurt. Like,
yeah.
You know, Embiid put him. I ain't gonna put that on. He was beating their ass though. Like, Embiid was throwing. He wasn't throwing elbows, but he was slapping people in the face, just like, you know, throwing his weight around. It's like, between that, like how physical he's been playing, and then like the officiating, like you can't even breathe on Embiid without being a foul. Like, Toronto has no choice. No chance. Sorry.
No chance, like the Vince McMahon theme song. I don't really have much more to add to that. Yeah, good luck, Toronto. You got to win the next 2 in Toronto to have a chance at this series. I mean, no, I stand on that. If they don't win the next 2, I don't feel good about it. Although,
if they don't win the next 2, they're done.
Yeah. Very true. All right. In the West, Phoenix, New Orleans. This series is currently tied at 2-2. This was the only series that I thought was going to be a sweep. Every other series, I said, you know what? There's going to be at least a game or 2 by the team I'm not picking. But clearly, ain't no sweeps happening over here, because New Orleans won that game too. Devin Booker went out of that game with a hamstring injury in the third quarter after he was on fire previous to that. And the baby fist bump is one of the greatest things I've ever seen before in any sport. Yeah, love that. But the thing is too, like, even before he got hurt and to leave the game, like, it was competitive. I think when he left, New Orleans was up by like 3 or 4 points at that time too. So it was going to be close regardless. And if Brandon Ingram is like that, that's tough. Him and CJ, to be honest with you, like when it came down the stretch and you just needed some buckets to be made, they came through, especially BI. But like CJ played his role really well as well. And Phoenix was just making making mistakes where I'm like, that don't look like what y'all normally do. So I don't know how many more games I give New Orleans. I personally still feel as if Phoenix will win this series. I don't think they need Devin Booker to beat New Orleans, but Brandon Ingram playing like a superstar and CJ McCollum being a great Robin to that is really interesting. And I'm not sure if Zion's coming back. I don't think that would be smart to do at this point, but they can make it fun. I think, but I don't think they have enough still to win it, even if Book is out past game 4 like they're currently predicting.
Yeah, I still think the Suns will win. Obviously not in 4 because that's impossible. But yeah, I mean, Phoenix is a machine, and I think that they can out talent the Pelicans from here on out. But honestly, if it wasn't, save for that first half of game 1, like New Orleans has been there the entire time, and like I saw that in game 1. It's like they can play with this team. Like they're on that level, and I didn't like the energy of Phoenix coming down the stretch in game 1. Like they were a little too feisty, like, and not in a good way. Like it felt like it was like they're so amped up, and I've said it all year, like they're on a mission. Like they have one goal in mind, and that's a title.
Yep.
And like having that singular focus, like, is great. Like it's a unifying factor. But at the same time, like if you have too many people that are pressing, and like I forgot what specifically happened, but I just noted that from like the way that they reacted to certain calls, like they were getting into it with the Pelicans, like near the end of the game. It's just like that's unnecessary at this point. Like, yeah, be intense, be locked in, but like it can, like if you run too hot, you can bubble over. And I felt like they were getting really close to that at the end of game 1. So for New Orleans to come out and really hang with them in game 2 until the Book injury, and then obviously going toe to toe with them down the stretch, like that didn't surprise me. And I think that Phoenix kind of needs to rein it in a little bit. And it's like, relax. What I'm getting at, like that can come back to bite them later on in the playoffs.
And that's a great point too, because we look at New Orleans. They started the season off terribly, but also this was not the same team that they currently have now. They were playing some guys in positions where it's like Graham don't need to be your point guard. He can't really do that. He is just somebody who can get you a couple buckets. Like, he don't have him try to facilitate your whole offense here. They had some injury luck. Of course, Zion didn't play the whole year, which they didn't at least let us know that they expected to happen. And once we trade for... You said what?
I was gonna say bringing in Graham to play point guard kind of speaks to like they expected to have Zion
because you wouldn't do that. But when they made the trade for CJ, one of the first things CJ said was like, "We're gonna try to make we can be a playoff team." And I remember being like, "Man, y'all started like 1-13. You were in a hole, sir." But between the Lakers, falling off the face of the earth and them just playing well, if they would have had this team as constructed to start the season, they probably would have been
at least 500.
Yeah, I mean, they could have even, the way that the West was looking, they might have been able to push for the 6th seed. Yeah. So, I mean, they're a good team. I don't want my comments to come off as like I think New Orleans is trash, but what it really makes me excited for is what their future looks like more so than anything, because I think CJ being able to be the vet on a team, like have his own voice, be the loudest voice in the locker room, not having to share that with Dame or anything like that, has been good for him. And CJ operates as a point guard, so letting him control everything, have the ball in his hands more often, it's been a boon for them. So makes me think about how that's going to go with Zion, but that's not the point at this moment.
Let's say I wish we could like pull clips and just like splice them in right here, because I feel like I said most of that like when they made the trade, because people were down on us like they got a young team, why they bringing in a 30-year-old and blah blah blah. It's like sometimes just bringing in talent, like you need to learn how to win at some point. Like bringing in more young guys to New Orleans is not smart. Like you have too many young guys as is. Like you need vets, you need players that know what they're doing to kind of teach them, bring along the guys like as they're learning how to do it. And also like CJ was not blocked by Dame, but like you couldn't see the full extent of CJ's game having to share backcourt with Dame. Like it just is impossible. So like I thought that having him on the ball more would help like his own like personal growth as a basketball player, and we're seeing that so far. I had a point that I lost, so
it's cool. We can move right into Memphis and Minnesota. That series is also currently tied 1-1. Minnesota came out strong in game 1, which I did not expect after watching them in the play-in. Karl-Anthony Towns looked like somebody who just started playing basketball at a professional level in that play-in game. Came out in game 1 and was like, no, I'm that guy. Like, don't forget what this regular season looked like. And I'm like, okay, Cat, I feel you. I see you. Calm down. Don't hurt him now. And game 2 comes around and Memphis is kind of like, no. Like, as soon as I saw Ja posted that psychopathic Michael Jordan clip where he's holding the bat talking about something, it's only one game. Talk trash when you're down. Talk trash when it's even. I said, oh, Memphis ain't losing game 2. And they came out.
That is the most terrifying thing that I've seen from like a documentary, like period. Like, obviously like fiction is one thing, but like actually like a person literally saying this and believing it, you can tell from his face like he really believes it.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, maybe it was just like the level of calm that he had. Like it was like, oh, he's gonna come out and murder like basketball, murder these people. Like that was so psychopathic. But anyway, sorry.
No, I mean, as soon as I saw that, I was like, man, they about to win this game. So they came out in game 2 and did what they had to do. They made some adjustments. Taylor Jenkins shortened the rotation a bit in game 2, which I was hoping he would do. Like, I understand part of Memphis's success was their depth. Like, that's key. Like, that's why when Ja was out, they were able to still steady the ship. They got some great backup point guards. They just got great depth all around. But in the playoffs, you want your best guys playing the most minutes. So someone has to take that L eventually. And they tightened it up a little bit in game 2, which I was happy to see. I still think Memphis wins this. I think Minnesota is going to end up being like Memphis last year, where it's like we came out, we won game 1, woo woo, we here, and then lose the next 4. So I don't know. Maybe they won't lose. Maybe they won. I think they might win one at Minnesota. They might win one at home, but I think that this is still Memphis' series. I have full confidence that they're going to pull this one out.
Yeah, I have Memphis in 7. I think I'm leaning towards moving into Memphis in 6. Like, I still think that they're pretty evenly matched. Memphis making the adjustment of only playing Steven Adams 3 minutes. Like it kind of it changes the matchup. Like, Steven Adams ain't have shit for Cat in game 1. Like,
nothing.
That was really what it was. Is that he didn't have
that was too quick.
Yeah. And so, like, making that adjustment, like, Brandon Clark was effective on him in the second half of game 1, and then I'm assuming in game 2, again, it's NBA TV, so I don't know what happened because I couldn't watch it.
It was Tillman. Tillman stepped up and did his.
But yeah, like, those are more mobile bigs that are still strong enough. Like, it's not like Cat really plays bully ball like that anyway. So, I mean, the Clippers guarded him with Nicholas Batum. So, like, going smaller on Cat makes sense. And they had, again, like, to your point about depth, like, depth isn't just like, how many guys can you play each game? It gives you flexibility in the lineups that you can play. So, like, as long as you have buy-in from your team, which it seems like Taylor Jenkins does, like, that allows you to kind of mix and match. Like, okay, well, some games Steven Adams gonna play 20, some games he's gonna play 3. Like, it as long as he's okay with that and it doesn't, like, sink him in the games where he plays 20, like, it's a great quote-unquote problem to have, which is, like, they have a bunch of guys that can play and can play different ways, and they can throw so many different lineup combinations at you. They gonna need that flexibility if they make it through this to get to the next round, because we're gonna get there, but that's some shit that's coming their way.
Ooh, boy. You know what? I kind of want to talk about you. Make your last point.
I'm done. We can go right
as
there.
Soon as you even mentioned them, I said, "Ooh."
The boogeyman is back, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, he is. So, just to wrap up that conversation, all 4 of us had Memphis. Tim, Eric, and Ken all had Memphis in 7. I had them in 6. Regardless, we think Memphis will win the series. But Golden State and Denver. Golden State leads that series 2-0. I thought that this was going to be stretched out, but listen, those Warriors, Steph came back, off the bench, doing his thing, getting his reacclimated. So game 1, I'm like, oh, maybe he need a little bit more time. Game 2, no. I said, oh, Steph look good. Steph is ready. And that boy, that Milwaukee's own Jordan Poole, we have been talking about Jordan Poole on Tech Files since this season started. If you go back and check our preseason podcast, we were saying he's someone who should be mentioned for most improved. We were like, he should be out, like he could have a great season, opportunity, and this and that. And he has ran with it. Draymond has been doing a great job defensively on Jokic, frustrating him, playing physical. That's one benefit that little guys always get when they're guarding bigger dudes. You get to be a little bit more handsy, more physical. And he is getting that benefit of the doubt. And they just look good. That their new death lineup with Steph and Jordan and Clay and Draymond and Witt, like, it works. They look amazing. They are scary at this point. I don't think Denver got anything for them. Like, it's going to be irritating to hear the discourse around MVP, because I'm pretty sure Jokic will win it. And they're like, oh, you're MVP, you just got bounced again. It's like, regular season award, people. Okay, regular season award.
Like,
Denver just is not the right matchup for this Golden State team, especially with all the injuries they have.
If we have any Denver fans listening, like, I feel the pain that's about to come your way. We had to deal with it for 2 years, but you also have Murray and Porter coming back next year, so you'll be all right. Mm-hmm. But so new death lineup, like, what the like, what are you supposed to do with that? Like, and it feels, because they never got healthy at the same time, okay, let me back up. One, about this series specifically, like, when I had it, like, as a coin flip, it was because there was so much uncertainty about Steph.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even have mattered. Like, if Steph missed this entire series, like, I still think that Golden State is cooking Denver. So, like, even my premise was flawed to begin with. Like, I can't even lean back on, well, I didn't know Steph was gonna come back. It don't matter. Like, Um,
Accountability, ladies and gentlemen.
And it's to the point where it's like Denver, they're frustrated because they don't have any answers for it. Like Jokic, they've had 2 ejections in the last 2 games. You know, Boogie in game 1, Jokic in game 2, Boogie fighting Will Barton on the bench. Like, and I don't even think it's necessarily that, you know, like they're just losing their cool. It's like they don't have any answers and they're just frustrated. You know what I mean? Like, I feel for them. Like, that's a buzzsaw, and like they're the first ones getting the brunt of it.
Yep.
Like I never knew what to make of Golden State. Again, getting back to my original point, which is because they were never healthy. Like, we never saw like how all these pieces in totality would look together, and we still don't, because like Steph's still coming off the bench. So once you have Steph playing 30-35 minutes a game, like, then what's it gonna look like? I don't know.
All that I do know is second round, assuming that it's Memphis and Golden State. I think whoever comes out of that series actually does have a great shot at winning the West. Like, that's the series where I'm like, next round, that matchup, whoever wins that, I'm like, y'all might be able to take out Phoenix. Like, you got that ability to do that.
Which is why I really hope that Book isn't out too long. I meant to say this during that series discussion, but it's like, I hate injuries like in general, but it's just like, it really sucks. Like, you have all these grand plans for the playoffs. It's like, ooh, this matchup's gonna be good. This matchup's gonna be good. I want to see, like, can Phoenix, you know, complete the mission, because they clearly are on that mission. Mm-hmm. And it's like, in game 2 of the first round, like, you got to deal with, you know, like, your main gun, you know, potentially going out. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a soft tissue injury, and he's had issues with his hamstrings in the past, and it's just like, it's so unfortunate. But that shows you, like, I saw you had back and forth with a person on Twitter earlier about, you know, like, how people put asterisks on every title because every year somebody gets injured. Like, it always happens.
It's part of it, yeah.
And it's just unfortunate to see, because like, seeing Phoenix against anybody in the Western Conference would have been, especially like now with this potential Warriors juggernaut being back, like, that would have been amazing to see, because like, Phoenix was a machine all year, and I didn't see that changing in the playoffs again, unless they let, you know, their emotions run them too hot. But Golden State, good luck.
That might be a sweep. That might be the Tim had them in 5. Everybody else had Golden State in 6. To your point earlier, initially you were thinking that Denver could pull the series out, but before the series started, you said, "No, I'm going Golden State." So we were all on the same accord there. This is the next series that we're going to talk about, the last one in the West, Dallas versus Utah, which is currently tied at 1-1. This was the only series amongst the Tech Foulcast where we did not all agree on who the winner would be. Eric, you got Utah in 7. Everyone else here has Dallas, although on the show, Tim said Utah and then changed his mind later on. So I'll say 1 in the P, I guess. But it's currently tied 1-1. They've been without Luka these first 2 games. And at this current moment, Dallas is optimistic that he will return for game 3 or 4. Game 4 seems most likely, but Luka has some optimism about his chances for game 3. Regardless of such, we tied 1-1 at this moment. And in the game that Utah lost, they lost because they got their problem has always been that their perimeter defenders cannot keep folks in front of them. And then it's up to Gobert to clean it up. So even if Gobert is holding someone on the perimeter, he's going to try to collapse, because he knows, like, it's innate in him to be like, I need to protect the rim here. And once they do that, if he collapses, they're just going to kick it out. Anybody collapses, we're going to kick it out, knock down the 3, we win. In game 2, they had all the open 3s and they were knocking them down.
Shit, Maxi Kleber hit what, 8?
8 or something. He was great. He was out there looking like a splash brother.
I think it was 8 for 10.
So when that happens, yes, they will win. And I was saying, like, we don't know when Luka's coming back, but if they can, you know, at least win a game here and then Luka comes back, I feel a lot more comfortable about their situation. But how are you feeling about this series?
Yeah, when we were talking through it last week, I'm like, if Luka was healthy, like, I probably would have picked Dallas in a sweep, because I feel like Utah is so fragile. And I still do. And obviously, game 2 didn't do anything to dissuade me. Like we had a weekend full of blowouts. So after all the game 1s had finished, I'm like, okay, at least one of these, like, don't overreact over a game 1, because I think at least one of these series, I didn't want to point to Utah, but like that's what I'm talking about. At least one of these series, like the team that blew out the other team in game 1 is losing, because like, you know, like it's the smallest sample size you can basically get, and it's like don't OD over game 1. Like adjustments will be made, different players will be put into different roles. So it's just like, just don't jump out the window after game 1. It doesn't really. It means something because it's a win, but it isn't indicative of the rest of the series.
I will say on that point, I think last year's Bucks playoff run helped me understand playoff basketball a lot more, because like I've always watched playoff basketball, of course, but like we never been there. So when it's your team and it's the emotions of the situation, you're like, oh my God, we just blew them out. It's about to be a sweep. And then you lose. It's like, oh my God, the world is falling. Like there's a certain level of levity that you need to keep while you're watching a series, because it is a series. And we all know a series doesn't start until the home team loses a game. So we got us a series with Dallas and Utah. We have us a series with Memphis and Minnesota. We have a series with Phoenix and New Orleans. I hope we don't have one with Milwaukee and Chicago. But like that's part of the playoff joy. So I honestly don't really have, I'm sorry, Utah and Dallas, I don't really have too much to say about y'all outside of the fact that if Luka comes back game 3, game 4, and he's at least 80%, I don't want him to get hurt again. But like, it's really over for Utah if Luka comes back, because what he brings to that team with his little herky-jerky slow cell, it's unbelievable.
One last point that I'll put on this is kind of coming back to that point about like Booker and injuries and asterisk and all that other stuff. It's like I said, I think that with a healthy Luka, this is a sweep. They don't have a healthy Luka. We don't know what Luka's going to look like when he comes back. If Utah gets past this, we don't know if we're going to have a healthy Booker. We don't know what he's going to look like when he comes back. So, like, Utah can go from potentially getting swept first round to conference finals, and then that might change the whole future of their franchise, because it's like, okay, we can win with these guys. So much of it is just like,
a little bit.
Basically. But that might also, like, galvanize them as a team, and, like, they actually play up to their potential. Like, maybe Donovan Mitchell takes some pride in playing defense, because that's the thing. Like, I feel like Mitchell, there's no excuse for Donovan Mitchell to be a poor defender. Like, yes, he's undersized, but he has long ass arms. He's super athletic. He's super strong. Like,
quick
it's an effort thing. Yeah, like, I feel like so much of it is like he focuses on the offense end. Like, y'all got enough offense. Y'all, you know, like, yes, they need you to be like the main guy, but at the same time, like, you don't have the entire burden offensively like some of these other stars do that take, you know, the other end of the court off. So
yeah. And even Mitchell said that. He's like, we got to be better. He's like, last year I was injured. You know, Mike had the hamstring, but there's no excuses this year. Like, we have to be better. And they really do, because it comes down to them losing. Like, if they can't keep a man in front of them, like, they are cooked. Like, that's what it comes down to, because Gobert can't save them completely every single time. He's trying. He is their defensive system, but there's only so much that he can do. You still taking Utah in this?
Hell no. Again, it comes down to health. Like, this is the same thing I said last week, but like, sure, I'll stay the course for now.
All right. Well, everybody listening, we hope y'all enjoyed. To Tim, Ken, y'all keep resting up. Can't wait to have y'all back. And yeah, we're gonna wrap this one up here. If you haven't already, subscribe and like on our YouTube, all that good stuff. Follow us everywhere that you can. If you want to follow me on social media, you can catch me. He ain't here. On Twitter and Instagram at Camille Monet. You can see it on the YouTube right down there.
Yeah, I am at Your World Champion, Milwaukee Bucks burner on Twitter.
That's all you get. We'll holler at y'all later. Take care.
Peace.